At Aster Farms, we're growing cannabis the right way, through regenerative agricultural practices, growing outdoors in living soil under the sun, moon, and stars. People would be surprised to know how difficult it actually is to grow cannabis. Unlike other agricultural crops, it really is a plant-intensive crop where you're paying attention to each individual plant. It's not a crop that needs to be grown on large scale. You can grow an acre and have a really viable business, and therefore it's a crop that's able to be grown in the best environmental and agricultural practices. We don't just grow outdoors. A lot of farms grow outdoors, but in pots. We are growing right in the ground in living soil, which means that we are actually putting time and energy into creating a living ecosystem in our soil that's feeding our plants. In doing that, we are also really paying attention to all of the inputs and outputs that are going into that soil, including water. We have a 400,000 gallon ag pond that we're using as a rain catchment system. Over the winter months, even in the drought, we're able to fill that pond at least 3/4 of the way. Additionally, by covering all of our soil with straw mulch, we are able to help absorb more of that water that we're putting in and stop it from evaporating. There's a big difference between what we consider craft cannabis and corporate cannabis. At Aster Farms, we call them plant factories. Cannabis is a very valuable per square foot crop, and I don't mean that on a monetary sense, but in terms of what the actual output is. Unlike corn, you don't have to grow thousands of acres to have a viable crop. So when it comes to the way that cannabis should be grown, each plant should have care and attention, and it should be grown in a way that you are not wasting resources. For us, the reason that we grow this way is we believe that this creates the best possible product. When you're growing craft product, you are creating a product that has a complex cannabinoid profile, that has dense and really rich terpenes, and that creates a consumer experience and a high, if you will. That's what people always want from cannabis. Lake County is a fantastic place to grow cannabis and is little known in the cannabis industry or for people in general for a few reasons. There's a strong diurnal cycle, which is the difference between the temperatures at night and the temperatures during the day, and this helps condense the buds, the flavor, and the profile. So it gives a better cannabinoid and terpene profile to the product, just like it does with wine. Another reason is it's high and dry. We are in a higher and drier location than Mendocino and Humboldt and some of the more mid-coastal regions. So that helps us avoid mildew. It gives us a longer season, so we're able to grow more sativas in Lake County. And the third reason is we have beautiful airflow here. We have had to overcome many challenges, including the farm being burned down in the 2018 Mendocino Complex Fire. It's also difficult because of the drought that we're dealing with in California. On a regular basis, we are always worried and constantly watching our water, watching the levels in our well and making sure that we're being as efficient as possible with our catchment and, pulling in of water and also our output. Going through that is really the resilience that you need in being part of this industry in general. The cannabis industry is a nascent industry, and it takes a lot of resilience. It takes the courage and the dedication and the motivation to literally rake yourself out of the ashes and keep going. I would tell somebody entering the regulatory industry in California that you really need to do it the way that this plant was always meant to be grown. It's important to be carrying on a legacy in cannabis that is doing right by the environment, that's doing right by consumers, and that's doing right by the genetics that we've all inherited. It's been very rewarding to have conviction about the way that you want to grow, believing that growing in living soil using these regenerative practices really does produce the best quality cannabis, and then to hear from your consumers that they had that radiant experience, that they love your cannabis because it gave them the medicinal effects that they're looking for, that they enjoyed their experience, they connected with their world, they were engaged. And so that's probably the most rewarding thing to hear, is that the ideas purposes and ideals that we put behind this have actually come to fruition with the people consuming our products.